Personal one today. This is actually my own home.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, I suppose the intention here is that we wanted to create a house that was grounded in our family's Italian heritage, my wife and I, but also wanted to create a home that had instant permanence to a very sort of high heritage area in Malvern East. So there we go.
Yeah,
all right, beautiful. So we originally intended for the semi-touched house at the front to be retained and extend, but thought why don't we utilise our skill set a little bit more due to the large parcel of vacant land that was at the back of the site off a laneway to create a new family home, basically getting a cost-effective block of land. But due to the outlook being off a laneway, we looked at a model of more European-inspired courtyards to create our own private outlook and amenity, as opposed to, going off that. The program, I'll very quickly walk you through it. It's fairly straightforward. The brown areas are key courtyards, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it's all living areas on the ground floor. There's like a library with a fold-down bed for guests to stay in to state. Bedrooms on the first floor. 2 for the kids, 2 for us. So the final resolution, it's an exploration of the humblest of building blocks, the good old brick. So in this instance, though, by saturating its use, that sort of mono material, it's very much about, I suppose, simplified gestural forms. So they take on the richness of an older home, like an older period home. And experience is something that is sort of older and it contributes to the neighbouring character, but in a more contemporary way in detail. Instead of a typical garage or car parking at the front of the site, you actually enter into this large courtyard area by a big 12-metre sliding timber door. So it's sort of an unusual grand scale of space. It's like a civic quality of size that you wouldn't expect with a home. And it's more than just parking. You know, kids can play there, you can host big parties. We do the big Italian tomato passata thing there. So it's very much sort of getting into the feel of the home. With this being with brickwork, we're looking at a lot of old school construction techniques here. We used Australian cement brick with a soft sort of texture and movement to the surface. And instead of laying it like brick and mortar, it's a random brick building pattern, colour match mortar, flush struck. So it's more about soft patchwork and saturation of brick than an individual unit. We've used a series of vertical soldier parapets, add a little bit of detail and rigour to the building. And where we needed them, like overflows, celebrate the detail, little spray brick there, bench tops for barbecues, pizza oven heads, like we're actually using the brick as detail components as well. Similarly for the large central arch opening that pretty much almost defines the building, we've used a paver brick there. It's wider, it's deeper, it gives this heft and massivity to the building like you'd sort of see in an older home. It's, and that archway's part of a loggia as well, so it's an interesting way of entering. The courtyard cobblestones, they're no different. We've made custom wedge-shaped fans there for interlocking tree holes. So where we've got a material, we're trying to push its use as best we can. Interiors, though, is what you guys want to know. So, look, the sentiment here to the materials used, antique, like a brown oak panelling, white oak floors, sawn travertine. They're things you'd see overseas in a gelato shop. Any Australian modernist home, you'd see them there too. So we're really bridging the gap there. We've used panelling in key rooms so you get that full immersion and saturation sort of hit as you work through it. Kitchen, you know the cliche, part of the home. So we're embracing that here, that one material, cabinets, walls, lining, it is all just saturated and creates a very sort of cocooning effect in this area. Same for the study there with the fold-down bed that's concealed in the wall panelling. The bedroom, vanity area, that's all lined, so there are these 3 little bursts of timber in the home. Reinforcing that courtyard focus, brickwork makes its way inside into that rear courtyard, so it's pretty much just a line of glass that separates you from the larger area. You get that saturation again. Not wanting to feel precious, the flooring, the smaller format sawn travertine blocks. You'd see them in a farmhouse, you know, you'd see them in a modernist home. It's just about trying not to be precious and not using large scale materials. As a bit of relief, all the paintwork in the other areas is soft putty toned colour, and this is more about exploration of volumes and how the spread of light can work in these areas. So clearest through windows, skylights. The house is very private, almost windowless from the laneway, so we're looking at controlled use of light in these areas to more softer way of moving throughout the house. Back to areas of some more intensity, tiling for the bathrooms, a single cost-effective porcelain tiles being used, but we cut them down into custom skinny strips so you get this sort of rhythm and movement. So where we can, it's not about ostentatious materials, it's just about flooding its use and being considered with it. For this home, custom fittings, one-off furniture, they're all peppered throughout. Where we wanted items to be more recessive to some of the existing furniture that we had, we designed them. So little clustered perspex coffee table cubes as display objects. We've got black steel wall sconces, upholstered furniture such as coffee tables, stools, bed heads. There's a whole series of items that sort of are downplayed to feel part of the overall room. But probably the biggest one, or most notable one, that was a lot of swearing, a lot of late nights before moving in, is probably the large ring light that we custom made for the job. 1 minute? Yes, 2 minutes, okay, that we custom made for the job. So the whole idea here, it's just to be a bit more playful, because the house has a bit of rigidity to it. Hand carved the birds, plastered some flowers there, and it's just about creating a more eclectic feel to the home. So that's it. You know, it's not a home of grand gestures as such or expensive materials, but it's a study of controlled spaces and how you use them. So like many other buildings, they're strong, yet, you know, they still sit quietly within the area, but I'd like to think it's a good representation of the client, you know, which is us. So, yes. Over to you guys.
Thank you.